Alright, you bastards, this is Some-Belgian-prepper, and today I'm going to talk about a piece of clothing that has saved millions and millions of lives. And that is the woolen trench coat or the greatcoat or a long coat. There are different names for this, but it has to be made out of wool. How has this piece of clothing saved millions and millions of lives since the time of Napoleon, World War I, World War II, and even in the aftermath, during the Cold War till the 50s, 60s even, this piece of clothing has saved millions of not only civilians but soldiers their lives. So I'm going to talk about all the survival uses and advantages of the woolen trench coat. And the reason why is because it's often underestimated by how things were done in the past, and I just want to talk about it yet again because there are some things that I left out of it. So yeah, I made this video before, but there's a few things I'm going to add to it. So how does something like this save millions of people of their lives? Because it's so multifunctional. This thing is so diverse, multifunctional. I will tell you all about it. First of all, this is my bug out jacket. This is what I always would wear if I'm going on a bug out. So what are all the benefits of it? First of all, it gives you a lot of warmth. So if you can see, it's almost the whole of my body. If I'm walking and there's a lot of wind, snow, rain, mist, dew, most of my body stays dry and it stays warm because it's going all the way to the half of my underlegs. So that's a lot of body heat you can retain with only this piece of fabric. Some people will say, yeah, but it's too heavy. Yeah, it's also very good quality, so that's an advantage. Some people will say it's made out of wool. I don't like the itching. You will get used to it, and wool has properties that are beneficial to some itching, or you can wear something more softly beneath it. But in my opinion, you get used to it after a long time. I almost wear nothing beside wool, and that's because of something that happened during one of my hikes. During one of my hikes, we were with our group surprised by a flood. It was one of those great flood rains, one of the biggest ones in Belgium, and we were hiking on that moment in the forests. And yeah, the whole place where our tent stood was under this much water because it came down from the hills, and we had to evacuate to a higher area. And yeah, we were soaking wet. All our tents, equipment, everything was soaking wet. So one of the ways that I got through the night, because my tent was just destroyed, I slept in a hammock above the very wet ground and water. And one of the things that kept me warm was wool, a woolen blanket. And that saved my life against hypothermia. Because first of all, wool has certain properties that are perfect for this kind of situations. First of all, when it's soaking wet, like it was during that situation, it retains 80% of its insulation value. So even when you're soaking wet, it will keep you somewhat warm. That's the first thing. Second thing, because I was soaking wet, I was drying while sleeping because I could stay warm in the woolen blanket, so to say, and it pulled the moisture out of my skin and it damped on the outside. So that's a way to dry while still keeping warm when you're soaking wet. That's another thing that I really like about it. And yeah, another beneficial property of it is wool. If you have a campfire or something like that, you can sit close to the campfire to keep you warm. With synthetic materials, you cannot do that, because if you sit too close to the fire, it will start to melt. Even if you are not close to the fire, on a safe distance so it will not melt, some of the sparks that fly from a campfire can land on your synthetic clothing and melt through the material, and you will have a hole in your coat. With wool, you don't have that. I can sit almost this close to the fire and it will not melt, it will not start to burn. It's fire resistance, also a good property. One of those glinsters fly on the campfire, land on it. It does not. In a worst case, it will start to not shard, but you know, leave a dark spot on it, but it will not get through. So that's why it's still, after 60 years, this is still functional in good conditions. So that's another beneficial thing you can do with an old coat like this. Alright, yeah, another thing that I'm going to talk about is, first of all, how does this keep you warm? By the way, I'm going to take off my backpack now. It was just to show you that even with the backpack, it's with my bug out bag, so to say, is handy to wear. So, oh yeah, I forgot the thing I was going to do with the backpack. First of all, if you are like in a bug out, wearing some bug out bag, some people say, yeah, but I don't like it that it's that long. It's always a little bit annoying to legs, but in my opinion, you can just walk fine with it. But sometimes you have to climb on things. Sometimes you have to do some works like digging, and sometimes you have to get onto stair-like rocks to climb onto something, or you just want to. It's a little bit too hot, for example, with even the legs, which happened on a walk a few minutes ago. So I got hot. So what do I do then? If it really gets hot, first of all, as you can see, the sleeves are a little bit too long, but if it's cold, I can just get my hands a little bit inside of it, and that way they are out of the wind and a little bit out of the cold, and they are getting warmer. So that way you don't really need, you still need gloves, but if you don't have gloves, this is a fine way to keep it warm. You can also put it in your pocket, and yeah, the same thing with this, it will keep you more warm. But if it's getting a little bit too, oh yeah, by the way, if it's also getting cold, you can put the collar up. You can make this loose. Button on the side of the neck. Put it around here. And that way, even your neck, you don't need to score. If you can see, even your neck will get really warm. So imagine your legs are warm, your hands are warmer, so to say, your neck is really warm, and if you use a balaclava like this, I can assure you, you get hot really fast, even when it's freezing temperatures. So the problem with that is sometimes you get a little bit too hot even when it's freezing outside. So what do? First of all, you open as much things like this to keep you, to open some ventilation. You can open some buttons. There we go. You can put the collar down. You can roll up the sleeves a little bit. That's something that I like to do when it's getting a little bit too hot. So that helps that your hands are a little bit taking more wind. And that way you have also your hands more free to do some tasks like bushcrafting or something that way. And what you can do is you can take these flaps and just shove them behind the straps of your backpack. So that way you have more wind getting against the legs and helps you cool off, and that way you can have more mobility without getting stuck to somewhere, or doing while walking through brush or doing some task. That way you can have more mobility that way. It's something that soldiers in World War I did when they had to dig trenches, even in World War II. So that's something that you can do. And yeah, I'm going to take off the backpack right now. Alright, so another thing, like I said, a way that is a way that is multifunctional is it is also a sleeping bag. Like I said before, if you're going to put it on maximum warmth, like with the collar, with the extra flap, and the thing is, you see this row of buttons. These are two materials getting overlapping each other, so this is a double layer. So my core, my internal organs, will be less affected by wind, by cold wind, and they have more material on the place where it needs to be warm. So this is a very hot spot, and that helps to keep my body temperature core very hot so it can run to the rest of the body. So like I said before, it's multifunctional, so it's an improvised sleeping bag. So if you're going to sleep somewhere, you don't need a sleeping bag or a lot of blankets. What the soldiers did is, if they built an improvised shelter for the night, they would sleep in their trench coats, and that is, as you can see, you can overlap it a little bit to the legs, and because soldiers usually wear high boots, it came beneath the underside of the jacket, and that way you can sleep very good. Even if you sleep on a little bit of damp ground, you retain 80% of your insulation value, so it's protection. It will be less temperature will be pulled from your body to the ground, so that's also a good thing even when it's wet. But yeah, I would advise to always put something beneath it, and yeah, you just need something small to cover yourself or something, so that's very handy. I'm going to put it because it's getting really hot in here, and especially if you use it in combination with the balaclava, then sleeping even in cold temperatures is really handy with this. So if it gets really hot, you can just open the jacket, and I must admit it's very classy actually. So I like this kind of long coats because, in my opinion, they're very classy, but that's not the point. If it gets too hot, you can open it, and even if it's getting too hot, I will show you this way. What they would do is, if it's summertime, but soldiers, like in the Soviet Union, they only got one coat and they always had to carry it wherever they go. But during summertime, it's a little bit too hot to wear something like this. So what they would do is, they would spread their jackets like this, spread the sleeves, and then they would roll it up like this. And what they would do next is, now you have this big woolen sausage, so to say. So you how do you say this? You put it together to one side. You take a piece of rope, and the two outsides you tangle together. Put this around as an improvised knot, but it's just to show you a point. And what they do next is they would wear it around their body. So if you see these old pictures where soldiers would wear something around their body, that is their long coat that is wearing. You can put it around your body, you can also put it around your bug-out bag, and that way you can carry it without less of the heat problems during summertime or when it's really hot. And in summertime you can also use it as a sort of pillow. It's getting very high, I don't know if you can see it, and it's a good height to rest your head upon. And yeah, or during summertime you can spread it out like a blanket, and you can lie on top of it a little bit more softer or protected from damp or dirt in an improvised shelter. So that's also a fun thing to do. And yeah, there are several other things that I have not spoken to about, and that is, it gives you protection against what, you ask? Well, if there are some ruffians who are during a disaster trying to, how do you say this, to rob you, and they have knives, because wool is such a thick material, it helps you against the cuts. It will cut through it, no mistaking that, but it's additional protection. One of the reasons that Soviet soldiers, example, wear it like a belt around their torso is because of the multiple layers of wool. It protected them against bayonet charges. So if a person with a bayonet tries to stab you, there are two things that could happen. First of all the layers of wool could help reduce the amount of damage that was made by the stabbing. So that way you had time to react or to get back or whatever you have to do. It will give additional protection, not everything, but some additional. And the second thing is, when the bayonet came, when they start to stab you, because of the several layers of material, it had more chance that it would glance off. It would take one of the materials, and the second material glides a little bit to the side, and that way you have a chance to fight back. That was also one of the ways that soldiers used to protect themselves with this. So yeah, I think. Oh yeah. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you can see this, but this is not from 1965, but from 1955. So this thing is more than 60 years old and still works in top condition. Oh yeah, I forgot one more thing that is beneficial about wool is, I should have said this earlier, and that is wool does not stink after a long time in the field. What do I mean by that? Wool is one of those materials, it's only sucks moisture out of your skin. So with synthetic materials, and that is the reason why your gym bag always smells horrible after one day leaving it in a gym bag, is because a gym bag, what do I say, synthetic materials pull not only the moisture but also oils out of your skin, and those oils are a feeding ground for bacteria, and that way they can multiply and it starts to stink really fast. Wool, it does not, it has not of those problems. That's the reason why I always wear woolen socks, and even like this, a woolen sweater beneath it, because even after 4 days in the field, you don't stink that bad. It's unbelievable. I have worn some of my socks my woolen socks by the way, for 2 weeks. They did not smell even after always hiking. So that's amazing. This thing, I have never washed it except when it got really dirty to get the spots out, but I never had to wash it to get the smell of sweat out of it, is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, that's also a very good thing. Another thing is, like I said before, it gives you additional protection because it's durable, and yeah, tearing is not really that big of a problem. There are some tears in here that are repaired, but on the general rule, if I would walk in the forest and I walked against some thorn bushes, yeah, it will not cut so easily, and it will protect my skin against those things. And during a bug out scenario, you don't want to get small cuts because those can get infected. But with what I noticed is people who wear coats with synthetic materials, that even the smallest thorn, it's ripped it right open, and all the insulation in those padded coats just got wet, they fell out, and they lost a lot of their beneficial content. So yeah, that's another benefit of this. It's very, very durable against sharp things. So yeah, like I said before, it also looks very classy, so you can also wear it during everyday scenarios, in my opinion. But some people, that's up to the people, their own taste. And yeah, you can also adjust it a little bit so that the waist get a little bit smaller to the backside and to the inside. There are only 2 pockets around here, if you can see, but if you can see, these pockets are very deep. I will go with my hand in it. So it's this deep, these pockets, and that's handy because I can keep a less ditch bag or some other essential materials in these deep pockets and still wear my backpack around it, and it will close almost the pockets off in a way. And if you can see, these I know some people will find these a little bit ridiculous, these big buttons. Yeah, that was the fashion style in the Belgian army in 1955, but yeah, these are also easily sewn back onto. And if you wear thick gloves, yeah, you can easily get them on without too much fiddling. So that's also handy if you are in a winter period and you want to button your shirt with your coat with gloves on. Also handy. And because it's buttons, you do not have the problems with a zipper that will get stuck or get damaged, or smaller buttons that will pop off. These are very strong. I only lost one button on this and I just could recover it because it was so big. I could find it just directly in the wet ground, mud and grass. Because it was shiny and big, I found it immediately and I could sew it back on. So that's also a benefit of this kind of buttons if you're wondering why they were so big. And yeah, another thing is, if you see, it has one of the shoulder straps on. You can put a smaller backpack on your back, put those over the straps, and that way, even if you're falling from a height, from a hill, or from wherever you're falling, or you have to do some wild stuff, you can just keep it on your back. You will not get separated from your back that way, unless it will pop off. So yeah, that's another benefit of this. And I think almost I hope I have made every point, because otherwise I have to do this video once again. So yeah, the only downside is, like I said, the weight. It is a weighty coat for some people, but it's another benefit of it is it's universal. A small person can carry it, roll it a little bit up. A big person, a fat person, a small, thin person, everybody can wear. It's a universal thing. That's how the army used to operate. Everybody got the same side of coats almost, and they had to do whatever they had to do with it. So yeah, that's another benefit of this. And yeah, I think I'm ready. So like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and see you in the next video. Cheers!